God ordained that it is one man, one joystick.
Violent depictions of women being beaten, raped, and run over by cars.
She's trying to capitalize on controversy.
It's disturbing that someone would sign my name making a federal threat to someone else.
Hi, my name is Samantha Berardis, and this is Rated M for Misogyny, a closer look at Gamergate. A short video exploring the subculture war that is best known as Gamergate, specifically focusing on the role played by Anita Sarkeesian, a media blogger and critic, to better illustrate the blurring of personal and private realms in the age of the World Wide Web. We will also be looking at the subsequent questions raised about a woman's space online, as well as how we need to change the manner in which we handle harassment that transcends the virtual world. The first step in this undertaking is figuring out exactly what Gamergate is. Something that's easier said than done, especially considering both sides of the controversy have a completely different perspective on it. The easiest and most objective way to understand Gamergate is by tracing just how the whole thing got started, which essentially begins with an angry and vengeful ex-boyfriend. His name is Aram Joni, and he created a WordPress blog called The Zoe Post about indie game developer Zoe Quinn in August of 2014. Should be noted that at this point, Zoe Quinn was not a darling of the gaming community. She created an indie game called Depression Quest in February of 2013 that received a lot of critical acclaim, but most gamers thought that it was undeserved. And so that was really when she started first getting hate mail. In this blog, Joni outlines not only all of the ways in which Quinn was not a good girlfriend, enumerating her affairs and lies in specific detail, but also includes in this 24-point post that Quinn was sleeping with her boss, Joshua Boggs, and Kotaku reporter Nathan Grayson. For those that don't know, Kotaku is a video game focused blog that is part of the Gawker Media company. Nathan Grayson had previously reported on Quinn, but it wasn't having anything to do with her game. It was actually just, she was part of a larger piece that was talking about a reality show that was about gaming development. But regardless, immediately after the post went online, it was instrumental to sparking lots of outrage and people claiming that it was obvious that Quinn had slept her way through the gaming industry. And her game that had been so well received was immediately pointed out to be nothing that was deserved from the actual game, but was all a result of her wily temptations and figuring out how to get good reviews through sex. This didn't stop even once the Kotaku editor-in-chief, his name is Stephen Totillo, swiftly released a statement debunking the claims that there was any sort of ethical breach by his reporter, Nathan Grayson, a few days after the blog went live. Nevertheless, Quinn's hate mail and vitriolic harassment of her and her family only got progressively worse, including doxing, hacking of Tumblr, Twitter, pretty much all of her websites, as well as the unfortunately new, very typical rape and death threats, forcing her out of her home, as we will see will become a trend for the women in the Gamergate controversy. Now, it needs to be said that those that are proponents of Gamergate say that they completely are against the way that women have been treated and the misogynistic harassment that's been pretty much the running theme throughout this whole thing. It is, as many have noted, pretty much only women that are being treated this way for speaking out. There have been a few men like Will Wheaton that have spoken out about it and really haven't experienced any of the doxing or hacking or really vitriolic response that the women have. They claim that people that are for Gamergate claim that it's really only about exposing the breaches in ethics of gaming journalism. Although in doing that, a lot of people cite that the source of these ethical quandaries are because of the liberal media and social justice warriors, also known as SJWs, pushing an agenda that is all done under the guise of true gaming critics. So we have two sides of the proverbial Gamergate coin. Those that claim there is a serious need to address the incestuous relationship between critic developers and alleged SJWs like the now infamous Anita Sarkeesian, and those like Miss Sarkeesian that claim that the outcries of ethics in gaming are nothing more but a very feeble attempt to mask what Gamergate is really about. Drastic measures taken by those that are loath to open up gaming to social criticism, and more importantly, lose their stranglehold on gaming as a male-dominated space and as the gamer identity. We're looking primarily at Anita Sarkeesian's role because, unlike Quinn, her role in the controversy is based not only on her private exploits, but her public persona and her public work, namely her website, Feminist Frequency, which began in 2009 when she was still a student, and then the video series that was funded through Kickstarter in May of 2012 called Tropes vs. Women in Video Games.
Mario! Ah! Help!
The goal of Tropes vs. Women series is not difficult to figure out. Sarkeesian uses the feminist critical perspective to clearly outline how typical tropes like the damsel in distress are used constantly in video games. Even in games that have strong female characters, and how such reliance and returning to those tropes result in lazy storytelling and maintain an exclusionary position towards women in gaming. Pretty much from its conception, meaning the Kickstarter campaign, the project received widespread criticism, and Sarkeesian received harassment by gamers, which it should also be noted that the harassment from gamers is probably why, in a pushback, she got her funding within a few hours, and then her target was completely exceeded by the time that the Kickstarter campaign was done. Which is really where the vicious cycle begins. Sarkeesian series gained more attention, and by extension, its creator, which then means that she received more harassment, which then got her more attention and put her in the public eye, which only opened her up again to more molestation and so on and so forth. And it's just been continuously perpetuating. The harassment really is important because it precisely illustrates how, in the internet age, it's increasingly difficult to keep the personal private realm separate from the public sphere. Like Quinn, Sarkeesian was hacked, threatened constantly, and doxxed, which means personally identifiable information is broadcast on the internet, especially when you're dealing with people that are sending you rape and death threats constantly, all day, every day, and people decide that they want to put your address up on the internet. That gives those people that hate you and want to kill you a way to do it. This forced yet another woman out of her home. There's also one of her attackers, or harassers, created a game called Beat Up Anita Sarkeesian. Really original, I know. Where users can turn a picture of the critic into a bloody pulp by clicking their mouse on where they would put their fists if they met her. On October 14th, 2014, there was a terrorist threat to enact the largest school shooting ever seen if Sarkeesian was allowed to continue with her lecture at Utah State University. Sarkeesian canceled the event when she found out that Utah state law prevented police from preventing entry to those carrying guns into the lecture hall. Her case has been passed along to the FBI, but they have arrested no one as of now in connection to any of the threats that she's received. Which leads us to our next issue, namely that trolling and harassment is such a prevalent theme on the internet. There's a lot of people that claim that she takes it way too far in order to promote her plight. Because the internet is really a place where, again, trolling is a thing, where people harass people just for sport or to prove it. And they actually say that a lot of the issues with Gamergate are because really there are a lot of troll groups that are just trolling both sides to try to get them to react towards each other. So whether or not it's one side provoking the other is really difficult to actually figure out how many people are actually involved in this or how many people actually take a certain stance. But when does that harassment cross into an actual threat? And once that happens, we have really no way as of now to figure out how to deal with that and to prevent it from happening. So by no means is this an all-encompassing video, and it's not exactly incredibly unbiased, but I hope that it does stress just how pervasive, whether like internet culture or video games, it does seep into our mainstream just in the same way that somebody's public online persona can seep into their private if people take it too far. So it does matter, and it's important. It's really something to think about, especially as we go forward and we only become more and more entwined with technology and with this whole other world that is the World Wide Web. So it's important to think about these questions and to address them now and to listen to the people that are telling you that they're having issues and that they don't feel comfortable or they're afraid or that their lives are in danger because of trolling or actual hatred or the ability to speak out. It's important to listen to voices of the people that are trying to be silenced.